What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. I'm going to start making some videos here. So today we're going to do a little prep work on the car, try and get it ready for Parcfest. Yeah, let's get into it.
Later.
See you tomorrow. So, well, we're gonna have to vacuum out some shit because this thing's been sitting under a tree. Alright guys, so pro tip, not a lot of people do this, but it's good practice to remember to put NICs on your plugs. Oh, those are the old ones. On your plugs so that they don't seize in there and strip out the your threads in your head. So if you didn't know, now you know. And another pro tip, even when removing plugs, do not use your impact on. What I like to do is crack them loose by hand, and then once you got them loose by hand, then you can run them out with the gun. And when I put these in, I start them by hand, get them threaded, get them to where they start so you don't cross thread them going in, and then really slowly you can spin them in with the gun just to get them, like, you know, sunk down, and then finish it off by hand and actually tighten them by hand. Alright guys, so we have fresh spark plugs in it. Alright, so in the name of science, I'm just curious, I have a handy dandy heat gun, and we can see how hot the manifold is, right? And then we can come up to the turbo blanket and see that it's obviously making a big difference. This thing's hot because she just went skirt skirt, but if we shoot down here on the hot side, she's 105-ish, but on the cold side she's only 84, 85-ish. So intercooler works. That's cool how you can see the difference. Alright, so I'm really going to be curious to see how well this whole new setup works. If I'm just going to basically heat soak the whole intercooler and it just kind of run like shit from the hotter IATs. But basically what I did was I took the intercooler from down here in an attempt to reduce intercooler piping length, and between the shortened intercooler routing and the lightweight flywheel, hopefully get some more response out of this setup. So we mounted the intercooler up here. There is probably at least like at least a 1/4 inch gap between the intercooler and the radiator, and the GK Tech fan really pulls a lot of air, so even just sitting here at idle you can feel the air getting drawn through the intercooler. And I mean, my radiator's hot, but my intercooler is still kind of cool, so hopefully it'll not just get completely heat soaked. And the other idea behind that was that more airflow will get actually to the radiator and actually help keep it cooler at the track as well. So the other plan is, don't mind the fact that this is cut. I live 2 seconds away from work. This just needed to hold the hood closed so I could get here. I am going to cut this out, which it's already cut out, but unbolt it, take it out, and actually do some hood pins. And then I'm actually going to mount my spall fan inside here and hook that up just for extra airflow when I'm actually sitting in line at the track waiting to go and I don't have airflow. So hopefully that'll just help keep it, you know, cooler too. Just the GK Tech fan alone with no fan shroud, I really didn't have like a overheating issue. Like, it actually keeps it cool at the track, but I'm just trying to, you know, come up with any way that I can just to help keep it as cool as possible, and you know, keep going run after run without it, you know, needing to cool down. So yeah, hopefully this new setup works, but I guess we'll see at Parcfest. Alright guys, so I'll show you a little bit on the suspension setup on this car and stuff since I'm in here. I'm running the Apexi N1 coilovers, but what I was going to show you is these awesome GK Tech V4 Pro drop knuckles that I'm running too. These things are super awesome. They have a ton of angle. The coolest part about them is the built-in caster trail, because it allows you to have the wheel. It allows you to have the wheel more centered while still running a high degree of caster without having the wheel all the way up against the bumper like I was before. So right now I'm at 7.5 degrees of caster and the wheel's fairly centered, so I clear everything really well one way, and then you know, I clear fender when I hit full lock. Now there is more to go in this setup, but my wheel size and offset is what's killing me. I'm only running a 17-inch wheel. I think these are 17 by 9, so you can see that I'm hitting here on the tie rod, so I need to put some stoppers here and have it hit the knuckle. But I usually don't drive the car typically on absolute full lock, but I know to keep it off of it so that I don't destroy stuff. But yeah, if I was to run an 18 or just a better offset wheel alone that was maybe a little bit skinnier, I'd be able to get more angle out of it, because the knuckles definitely have a little more room to go. But yeah, I figured I'd kind of show you guys these badass knuckles as well. And then when I turn the other way, I still, since I'm on a fucking 17 and not an 18, I still hit right here. But again, if I had a better offset wheel and didn't have the wheel stick in as far, I would be able to get a whole lot more out of this setup. But for now, it does what it does, and it does it pretty well still. But yeah, I can't really show, but this inner tie rod is basically I guess you can see it. Yeah, you can see the inner tie rod is bad. This is a you know, $10 Rock Auto special, and it lasted one event, so we'll get it swapped out with another one and get it realigned and ready for Parcfest. These are the inner tie rods that I run. These are the like 03 or whatever Maxima, or 06 or something like that, Maxima inner tie rods. They're dirt cheap on Rock Auto. I bought Centric parts, which let's see, does it say where they're made? Probably China. Nope, don't see anything where they're made, but they are stupid dirt cheap. I think they were like $5 to $10 a piece. So I replaced it with these guys, these Centric ones, because they looked beefier, they looked thicker and more heavy duty. And I got rid of the binding issue. The binding issue was because my rack, I've already cut and relocated my rack and moved it forward, but with these V4 knuckles, with the ball joint and tie rod in being much closer together, and trying to dial in where I wanted my caster and all that stuff, I was fighting a slight over centering. So now I'm running the GK Tech offset rack bushings as well as the rack being moved forward. So now it's like this rack is moved forward physically as far possible forward as it can. So that got rid of the binding issue, but for whatever reason this inner over here decided to take a crap at the last event. So this side was still good, so we're only going to replace the other guy with one of my spares and get it back in. So just yeah, we figured I'd show you guys that. But that's something that you might run into if you run these V4 Pro knuckles, is you might still get a slight over in centering unless you run still quite a bit of caster in it. And I didn't want to run 8 degrees, I wanted it to be around like 7.5 ish. So with it at 7.5, my rack, even though it was moved forward, was still over centering just ever so slightly at full lock. And like I said, the fix was just to move it ever so slightly more forward with the rack spacers. I did have to grind part of the motor mount down up here to fit the fucking rack, but it was quick, easy, and everything worked out. So now we have no over centering. I have the caster the way I want it, and everything's good. Alright, so we're on the ground. Gotta do a quick alignment. Alright, let's go. Here is my alignment specs in the front. Almost 7.5 degrees of caster, 2.5 degrees of negative camber, and there's my toe. And we got the rear pretty well dialed in. Was gonna try and take out some of this camber, but lock nut is in a terrible spot. So yeah, pretty good little setup. You should see what it does.